This chapter is very much about the body. I tend to associate this with the traditional yogic perspective. The traditional yogi wants to transcend the body, but there's also an obsession with the body, an obsession with purifying the body, which from the point of view of self-enquiry is not relevant. From the point of view of self-enquiry, the notional nature of the body becomes apparent and we no longer identify with it. But what about with the body of others? What about identifying with the body of others? And this can be a very powerful thing, especially as far as men and women go. For the man in particular, the female form is one of very powerful fetish attraction, fetishistic attraction. It can be a huge problem for many men and as a consequence for women as well. When you really look into it, you can understand why in many cultures women are veiled. It's very common in the modern Islamic societies. But St. Paul said also that women should be veiled. I think it was in one of his letters to the Corinthians, to the Corinthian church. And women, indeed women in Christianity, were veiled until fairly modern times. So a man who's not got a sense of himself, a sense of who he is, who does not have self-knowledge, can be totally caught up in aspects of the female form and also with notions of the female. Vasishta continued, "It is only in the eyes of the fool that the poisonous creeper, woman, bears the blossoms of restless eyes and pearl-like smiling teeth. For only in the heart of the wicked grows the dreadful tree of infatuation, providing an abode for the countless birds' sinful tendencies." So we have to be very careful here. We are not to blame women for being so inviting. This is a problem which men have to deal with. So this poisonous creeper is not the woman herself. It's her fetishistic appeal, which again is not the problem of the woman herself. Although we have to acknowledge that women will make the most of this. It can give them some kind of power in a male-dominated world or male-dominated society. So we can't blame them for making the most of this power. But it's up to the man not to get caught up in it. It's up for the man to take responsibility for the power of his own fetishes, which arise from his own self-ignorance, really. And now we get some of the consequences of this infatuation. In the forest of his vicious heart rages the fire of hate. His mind is flooded with jealousy, giving rise to the growth of the weeds of destructive criticism of others. The only lotus his heart knows is envy, which is sought by the bees of endless worry. And such a man very rarely takes responsibility for these feelings. He blames others. So often enough you hear stories of men who will kill the object of their love, of their infatuation, because their feeling is not reciprocated and they don't want somebody else to have this woman. I'm talking about this from the male point of view, but it can work the other way around as well. Women can have this same kind of infatuation for men and indulge in equally destructive behaviour. So I don't want to be one-sided here. But socially, the problem does tend to be men's infatuation with their own fetishes, actually. It's not even with the women, it's with their own ideas about the women. So there seems to be something quite realistic about this passage, as if it comes from some kind of personal experience, of being caught up with fetishistic desires. Death is meant only for such vicious fools. Your humanity collapses. You're dead spiritually. Birth and childhood lead to youth, youth leads to old age, and old age ends in death. And all these are repeatedly experienced by the ignorant. So this is talking about those caught up in the wheel of samsara, the ocean of sorrow. The ignorant man is like a pot tied to the rope known as the world, with which he is now lowered into the blind well of samsara, and now lifted up. These things we get caught up, especially if you've got an infatuation with somebody. At times it seems great, much of the time it's painful. But you don't let go of it, you're caught up in it. Going up, going down, round and round. This very ocean of world appearance is like the footprint of a calf to the wise, and an unfathomable and endless sea of sorrow to the ignorant. The footprint of a calf. The idea is the person of wisdom can just step over it. Isn't that great, just to be able to step over it? Of course, some people love all this, don't they? They love the drama of romance, of infatuation, of obsession, of fetish, of pain. It makes them feel alive. Good luck to them. Even as a caged bird is unable to find freedom, the ignorant man devoted to the fulfillment of his appetites is unable to find release from bondage. His mind, which is befuddled with apparently countless tendencies and conditioning, is unable to see clearly the revolving wheel of life and death.